Hi, everyone. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth with Scott Lemwell, the author of the series Agenda book and the Emerald Doorway.
And thank you, Perry, for being your wonderful self to host these continuing radio shows. I think we've done 10,000 of them. I don't remember how we've done a lot. And so we're doing them once a week now. As you know, we have private sessions, group sessions that are not on YouTube or Facebook, or nobody knows what we're really doing in those because they're private. They're for the benefit of people who have awakened enough to go much deeper than, say, the general public that needs to know a lot more first before they can leap into the unknown safely and all that kind of thing. So those things continue with small groups of people around the world for their benefit, and yet YouTube and Facebook knows nothing about them. It's not on Coast to Coast. It's not on radio shows. I do more on your radio show than I do on any other avenue to the public as far as what we do on the show, because we really go on journeys and things. You can't get on, say, Coast to Coast or another radio show I was just on and go too far with this stuff because the audience wants to debate, ask questions, call in. It's like it's watered down, but I still jazz it way up in an upward spiral of energy when I get on these shows for the benefit of the host and their listeners. People call up and ask me all kinds of stuff. By the time they walk away from that show, whether they agree with me or not, they've changed permanently. Because what's been done during the show is for their betterment. It doesn't control them or telepathically manipulate them or get into their mind and try to manipulate them or anything like that. But what I share with people, they never expect to hear. It's not what they're expecting. And it's the fact that I share things with people that they never hear anywhere else that wakes them up, because I share with them things they don't remember that they are capable of knowing again under the right conditions. That's what I always do. Otherwise, it's just throwing around data and stuff and information out there, and anybody can do that, and it doesn't change the world one bit. All the information in the universe about UFOs and who's right and who's wrong, which are the bad ETs, which are the good ones, who's classified, are they really good, are they bad, governments, kings and queens, and all this stuff, and the way people bat this stuff around without really knowing just keeps them trapped on this planet. It really does. Because it's mixed with fear of the present and the future. Nothing of a higher nature, higher faculties of the Atma, or the characteristics of being that is not a body, the real thinker, the real knower that we are, not the brain and body we have on Earth. Those things don't recover in conscious awareness in people while they're working with negative emotions and negative imagination. The two do not mix at all. So the first challenge I have is always to help people stop putting energy in negative things, whatever they are. A negative fear of the future, Armageddon, we're all going to die. There's going to be a polar shift. Nibiru is going to come by and wipe us all out, all that kind of stuff. None of which ever happens, by the way. People would pay attention and stop putting it out and realize it's not happening. It's not going to happen. They drop a lot of the fear they're shoving around through the disclosure and UFO communities right now that's not helping anybody, not even themselves. It isn't, and it doesn't. When people share information about life on other worlds and higher planes, and they're coming at it from the heart and from uplifting and for the good of all life, they're going to be tuning into beings that are out there, the vast majority of them that work this way, because the negative ones are a minority out there. And yet most people are tuning into the negative ones by having fear of the present and the future. They're linking right to them without realizing it. So I don't do that. I don't do that in any way, shape, or form. I do not work with fear, doubt, speculation, theory, belief, faith. I don't work with any of those because they are beliefs taught from the outside by someone and put in the inside of the people listening to them growing up. And those things do not provide direct experience. They're just beliefs. And people can choose to believe something until they die, and then They think they're going to go out of their body and find it more truth somewhere else than they did here. It's not true. Because the next heavens up from here, like the astral, causal, mental, etheric, higher dimensions, below the void, below the real worlds of the higher worlds, are not good places, really. The beings running them are tyrants. They make you worship them and give you nothing in return except believe in me or get a pitchfork. That's wrong. It doesn't matter what a person believes, nor do I have any thing to say about what religion someone's in, what they believe with all their heart. All I'm doing is bringing into their lives something that's hidden from them that makes what they're believing in alive, vital, childlike, wondrous, living, vital. Experience can only do that, not belief. Belief or faith should go into direct experience for it to be of any value. If it doesn't do that, people are just wasting their lives away till they die, waiting to be saved after they die. There's no guarantee of that. It's better that people know what they are, that isn't a physical body, while they have one. Far better. Because then the mystery of death is taken away. Fear of death goes away. A lot of the things that make people afraid on this earth cease. They stop putting attention in them. They stop putting their energy into them. They stop looking into it. People get caught in looking into negative things to try to find answers. Why is evil so evil? There are no answers in evil things or negative things. They're just deranged. There is no solution, no answer anybody can find in that stuff. Never, ever, ever. When a person stops putting their energy and their imagination in negative things, other whole worlds open up to them. Because we're meant to be co-creators with the source behind all life, not worshipers of it. That's not necessary. Only tyrants demand worship. You shall worship me, or else. That is the teaching and the path of tyrants. I'm not putting down any religion anywhere on earth. I'm saying people should endeavor to have direct experience about what they believe in. More than just faith or belief, but find ways to have real experience so you know what you're doing. Because when a person loses their body, they're going to go out of the body and then they're going to look at, oh, the body died. Oh, now what do I do with myself? And they're only going to take with them the time that body ceases what they're aware of when they leave. And if it's fear of death and fear of the unknown and fear of evil and fear of Satan and all that, that's what they're going to take with them. It's going to create those scenarios around them. Why? Because the omnipresent living energy that supports all life in between the moon, the suns, and planets, it looks black to people. It's really a white golden light. Physical eyes just can't see it. But when you're out of your body, you can see it. That divine spirit, people call it, is a co-creator with us. We're meant, what it does, it's this one power. We imagine in it, good or bad, and it manifests that around us. We as individuals don't have the power to do that. The one power behind all life does that. But it's unbiased, unprejudiced. It will simply create with you what you put into it. Good or bad or both at the same time. And that traps people in putting their imagination out in a split way. Positive, negative, and opposed. Splits their consciousness in half, doesn't it? They're working on half thrusters. How are they going to make good choices on Earth and get out of this place and wake up if they can't even work as a whole being, looking into the universe with one view, one imagination, one beneficial, uplifting way with their imagination? Desiring to create that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life is the right way for us to imagine and feel things. People aren't taught this on Earth. No, period.
Scott, can you mention about this? Because what you said is it is very good. In many countries and many people, you know, they pray for one statue or whatever statues, and then they believe that they get from that statue. So they give a lot of flowers, they give things to this statue.
Right.
Can
Or
you
they put
explain
food
this?
in front of a statue, and it's fine, I guess, but it really doesn't really change their consciousness all that much in a lifetime. You know, they just believe they'll find out more when they die. But what happens is they're usually encouraged to come back here in another body with no memory again. Reincarnation. It's a trap. Karma is just another way of describing the law of physics, one of them that says every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. It means that what we imagine, we put out into the universe around us, and it brings us to it, attracts us to it, or brings it into our lives. If people riot in the streets, they're creating very negative energy out in the universe. It's going to come back to them, not the rest of the planet, unfortunately. People don't realize this. Anger produces anger. You know, any kind of negative emotion produces the same thing. So my work is about helping people remember what they once knew before they were born in this world, long before, and what their purpose for existing really is all about, which is, and I'll say it right live on the air to the whole world, what is the purpose for the existence of a human being? Let's just take beings running bodies like this genetic structure, because that's what people think is human. Human or human isn't even this body. It's spherical shaped energy, like a planet, a moon, or a sun. That's what soul looks like, really. And it runs bodies. The real intelligence is made up of an energy that's like the void of space. It's a brilliant golden white living energy that supports all these galaxies and planets and all the dimensions. It's behind it. It's not nuclear or atomic in nature. There's no electrons or protons or atoms or DNA in it. You can't record negative things or positive things in the matter, in the energy that's out in space between worlds, because it's not material. It's not matter. It is energy. So more advanced people on Earth call this zero-point energy or toroidal energy, the energy of the universe. They know it doesn't obey the laws of physical matter, and yet they know it's the vast majority of what exists is this void in space between worlds and planets and moons and stars and galaxies and dimensions. It's infinitely vast and more greatly wide and deep than the things that float in it. The space between new galaxies is what I'm talking about. That area is infinitely bigger than all the stuff floating in it. And it goes up in dimensions. It's one energy. If you pray to it, really what people are doing when they're praying is imagining something. If they pray for someone without their permission, they're playing in what people call black magic or dark energy, because they're trying to do something they think self-righteously is good for someone else without asking them. And that can bring negative repercussions in space-time back to them, because what you put out comes back. If people want to get above karma and reincarnation, or live a life on a planet like Earth without suffering from cause and effect, then they have to work with an energy that is behind and above those things. The first half of the word human on Earth, and human, that word did not get created by people on this planet. Atma, although it's used in India, in Indian cultures, did not get invented by them either. Language does not get invented on this planet. Human beings in any form we have, whether they're Asian or African American, Caucasian, Semitic, Indian, Samoan, whatever they might be, did not evolve on this planet. This one planet with one atmosphere did not evolve all those different races of human beings. It's not possible. They were brought here, one scenario or another, over 65 million year time period since the dinosaurs were made extinct. People on Earth, including school systems, do not know this, and they don't remember it, and they don't teach it. Just because it's not taught on this backward planet doesn't mean it isn't there to be found. First half of the word human is the secret most missing word in all religious and metaphysical and esoteric scriptures on any planet and any place anywhere. It is the missing word, and it's not a printed word. It's not a scroll. It's not hieroglyphics. It is a deep first sound, and it's omnipresent behind all things, and it's a living energy. It comes from the source behind all life that most advanced races out among the stars call Prime Creator. You can call it the source. I don't call it the supreme being because that term was made up by tyrant kings to refer to themselves. Supreme means tyrant, control, dominant. It owns you. Praying to something like that is praying to a negative space god or some other thing. It's not going to do anybody any good. It's not out for your best good. Those kinds of things. When you send out the hue as a pure form of prayer, let's say, it's round, whole tone. It vibrates the cranium. It vibrates the pineal gland, the center of the brain. Opens a door. It is not a psychic door. It is a pure connection to the source we come from. It is a fail-safe put in place at the beginning of creation before the worlds of time and space were even made. What people on earth don't know running a body unconsciously here, having families and paying taxes and living and dying and believing in something, is that what's running that body is made of the same energy as the source, the Prime Creator itself, identical to it. Like an individual drop of pure energy that isn't nuclear in nature, but it is energy, out of an entire ocean of that energy. This is something that all beings once knew, because all Atmas, what people on earth call soul, came from that source. And that source is many higher dimensions above this world. It's beyond the void known to Buddhists, at least some of them. It's up in the higher realities above that barrier between the higher realities and the worlds of time and space. The worlds of time and space are etheric, mental, causal, astral, and physical. And in each one of those layers, primary dimension, is 144 parallel dimensions of matter and space and time. More advanced beings from other worlds can move between those, not just from here to Mars, but here to a Mars that's in a higher level. I hope I can make this clear, because if I can, and to the scientists and the classified people on this planet, if they understand toroidal or zero-point energy at all, they're going to start to understand that changing the molecular time rate, which is an energy output of an electromagnetic field around a metallic structure, if you change it, you simply disappear from here and you appear in another molecular time rate. That means there's Earths and Mars and Venuses that are in different levels in the physical universe. So even if you went to Mars in a ship and it was 800 degrees on the surface and toxic atmosphere, the next one up is not. And extraterrestrials that are advanced can move between them in their craft. Those ships in the physical universe normally do not go into the astral. That's made of an even finer matter at a higher molecular time rate, and there are little barriers between them. So there would be astral spacecraft for those 144 planes. There's causal spacecraft and mental spacecraft. And there's in the etheric, people just get around as beings. Ships would be more like crystals and just people sitting around as luminous beings floating around everywhere. And getting from one point to another is instantaneous compared to down on Earth. But when a being who comes from those worlds, those realities that are above the void, it's known as certain esoteric groups, they begin to return consciousness to themselves that they had as part of the source or Prime Creator itself. And they bring it all the way down here. The purpose for that is to one day, as co-creators with the source, that's our job for coming here, bring back to the source, when we can go back there and remember it, our insights and new ways of doing things that we've learned from billions of lives on different levels, to help it come up with ways to solve the biggest problem in eternity. And that is, how do we make the lower dimensions of time and space mirrors of the upper realities? How do we get rid and retire the old unworking system of good and evil? Tile evil is a failed experiment, because it is. like the dinosaur. And what do you replace in the energy fields running through the lower dimensions of time and space? What do you replace it with when you retire it? Something has to fill that void. It has to be something which motivates people to only use their imagination properly, to discipline where they place their attention, and not to deliberately not put it in negative areas. Because when they can do that, things that aren't negative begin to open up to them. And they get the training they need to be co-creators with the source, because that's the destiny of every single living being. A human being is meant to co-create with the source behind all life, not co-slave to it, not worship it, respect it, yes, and each other, and all life in the grand multidimensional universe. To do that, people on Earth need to begin to recover their awareness of all life in the multidimensional universe. You cannot respect that and embrace a bigger God, so to speak, which is mostly off the world out there, unless you're aware of what that life is. It's impossible without that. So part of what happens in an awakening being is they become aware again of the multidimensional creation, that they once knew it. They start to remember things. They start to recover other lives and other planets and other planes. And they begin to feed that enlightening information and experience into the brain and body they grew up on Earth that had none of that ever trained into it growing up. So, for a person on Earth to become enlightened, what they are that's spherical and indestructible needs to be able to go out and have experience, which people do every night when they put their body to bed. They leave their body, but they've not been trained how to bring back memories, so it's all a jumble. And they go out in there and they learn how to bring back more of what they're doing when they're out in their body. It enlightens this consciousness on Earth, because that brain and body never had any of that stuff. So you see, we have to be able to leave our bodies. The difference between leaving your body at night when you put the body to sleep, it's a trance state. It means that the body is put on automatic. It's a complex process. A brain and body does not put itself to sleep. I can't stress this more strongly to all the people of this planet. A brain and body with twin-stranded DNA does not run itself. It's quite impossible for it to run itself. A brain, the multi-billion circuits there for coordinating the coordination of the body, and speaking and singing and walking. And there's body memory if you get an operation and all that, but the actual consciousness of the being that's running that body is not the brain or body at all. And that's who we really are. And that it's that people need to recover in order to have true free will. And in order to chart a course into liberating themselves from this claptrap on Earth. This unconscious mass of people running around bumping into each other that can't remember anything. Who they are, that isn't the body, where they came from before this life, or anything else. Is it any wonder the leaders of this planet make so many mistakes trying to run it? And the classified people too, because they're not working on all thrusters. They're not. You cannot put a being, stuff it in a body on a planet like this, make it forget, and then tell it to go get things with God right. Because it doesn't have access to billions of years on many dimensions that it had to make better decisions. It's cut off. And they're just going to make more mistakes in that life. It's inevitable. So people on Earth, when they think they have free will, let me ask people this. If you don't remember what you are that is not a physical body, what it looks like, what it's shaped like, how to make it work, the layers of it, the spherical nature of it, which is really made in the image of the source, not this. They got that all wrong on Earth completely. So if you can't remember that, and you don't remember what you knew before you were born here, and you haven't got a clue why you exist, how can you claim you have free will? Doesn't free will require being wise and intelligent, connected into the multiverse, into that one energy that's all intelligent, plugged into it telepathically? It requires that we plug into a bigger consciousness than ourselves. That one energy out there is not a being sitting on a throne somewhere. It is a living energy force. It's a co-creator with us. There is a source way up in a higher reality, but it's not a tyrant. Things are changing out in the universe and in the other dimensions now to make the worlds of time and space run differently than they have been for the last 200 billion years. We're living in a life on this planet right now where that change for the first time is now underway. And it started out there in the higher worlds about 8.5 to 9 years Earth time ago. Very recent. And it's that change that has changed the destiny of this planet from a destructive Armageddon, past prophesied, into an altered destiny that's not going to happen. There's no more polar flips of this planet. That's not going to happen anymore either. What changed that? People on Earth haven't got a clue. It wasn't them. But there are beings out in the universe that people on Earth haven't got a clue. People in the UFO extraterrestrial communities, they don't know. Some people might refer to them as Elohim or maybe angels, but that's not it. They're way above that. These are the mechanics of creation. They are a type of being that runs and maintains the entire multidimensional creation and everything in it. They are not physical bodies. They're spherical in shape as pure beings, just like we are. Bigger, brighter than we are, older. And they haven't really in the past been directly involved with the evolution of a being or a soul. Master teachers and things like that, yes, but the silent mentors, no. That's what they're called. They have recently begun to co-creatively work with other people to share what they know and to get more of this compassion towards individuals, because it's never been their point in the past to mix it up with people like us. They aren't angels. They're beyond that. But I share this with people for one reason and one reason only. If I don't share it with them, they're not going to remember it. They're not going to know it. They're too closed down on Earth to even find it out for themselves. What I had to go through to uncover this after something was done to me, to put me in a body here with no memory, I don't even talk about with people. You don't hear me airing that stuff with anybody at all. I don't bring it up because they could not comprehend it anyway. And I don't need to tout my own horn about that kind of thing. It's not why I went through it. I went through it so that I could end up being of benefit to people on Earth, to help them recover what was suppressed in them without their consent before they were born here. Because that happened. I don't joke around about it. I would say that most people are afraid to look at what happened to them because it was too terrifying. It's subconscious. It's just too hard for them to look at it. Under the right conditions with the right beings, loving, caring beings, not from Earth, people can recover and have it be nothing but a memory, negative experiences that put them on this Earth. And then their higher faculties recover because that becomes a conscious memory and not a suppressed thing they're trying to run from because they think it'll happen to them again. It won't, it can't, but people don't know that, see. A subconscious implant is not a chip in the body or the brain. It's not a reverse engineered microscopic little chip somebody in the classified community was playing with to try to find a way to get themselves from being negatively influenced from beings more advanced from other worlds that were negative. It's a holographic type of program that's artificially placed around what negative beings cannot affect, the atom itself. So when you look through it at the universe, you see these distorted images of truth you once knew. And one of those subconscious programs will tell people, you shall not remember what you knew, or you shall be eaten alive again. And that program, it doesn't include visual and hearing. It just is feeling. So if a feeling comes up in you and plays on your nervous system and you're feeling fear and some weird thing about the present and the future, that's an implant affecting the nervous system, and they can be shut down and they can be turned off. I do that with the hue because when we go through it, it shuts that stuff down. It helps people recover their natural abilities and Atma to master that. Because each Atma, each soul, each being, each individual has an innate ability to master and control all negative things, negative beings in or out of bodies on any dimension or any negative technology. But they have been manipulated to doubt this and fear this. So they don't exercise it. Simple. Do you have any questions there, Perry, at this point?
Very, very interesting stuff. I mean, I have no question, but I understand deep more than I expect today, you know, like
Good.
Clearly.
See, because I do that because I know when I'm speaking with people, I know they have it buried in them. They already are wise. They already know it. But it has to be something they would relax and trust themselves, not someone outside. Trust their own eternal nature as a being and allow it to come, these higher faculties, these awarenesses of other lives and other places to come back to them, to surface. It takes courage. It takes daring. But people are not alone. There are vast hosts of beings outside of this world that are not negative in any way, and they are there to help us recover all this if we ask for it. They're not tyrants. They don't force it on anyone, and that's important. Tyrants will force something on you and promise you the moon and give you nothing. You know, they just make it look good on paper, but they're not in it for helping you, that's for sure. So, what is the first half of the word human? What does it mean? What does it do? Why is it there? Why is it hidden in plain sight? Well, people look in a dictionary. Human, I'm a human being. I'm a human woman. I'm a human child. Well, they don't know what that means. They think it's one of these. That's not it. This is a machine. It's not an android or a computer or robot, but it's DNA, and it's made of chromosomes. It's made of genomes that make up the double strands of the DNA, and they're switches. Tell you what color hair, how old you're going to be, when you're going to die. You can live 1,000 years, you can live 80 years. They're just switches. And they regulate the way the body either grows old or does not. Science on Earth isn't evolved enough yet to understand the science of genome technology, like it's known precisely in other worlds. The telomeres on the DNA, as people know on Earth, it's part of the DNA that they see shrink every time cells duplicate to replace worn out cells. And this creates aging. People with more advanced understanding have known how to keep those turned on so they don't shrink. Duh. And they know they're not a physical body they're running. They just have a physical body they're running to get experience. It's made of a molecular time rate of matter that the surrounding space is. Planets, stars, everything they see. And so they will use it as a medium to connect and have taste and sight and smell and all this stuff and pleasure and pain with their environment, which is transmitted back to the being running it to gain experience for one purpose, really, so that they can return to the source from whence they once left with insightful new ways of doing things, to share it with what they call God, so it can come up with new ways to do things that I've never done before. And it relies on us. Why? Because as individual drops of this mighty ocean, we're exactly the same as it. It is part of us. We're part of it. We'll always be individuals, but we're connected to it. So our real function and reason for existing and going through all this nonsense is to be able to return. And people don't even know there's a place to return to anymore on Earth. Even in the lower dimensions, as far up as the etheric plane, below the void, they don't. You go there and people live millions of years in transparent bodies. They don't have any desire to go over the void to the higher worlds. They're too caught up in the phenomena of the plane they're in. That's a problem for creation. Because each of those beings running each of those bodies and each of those planes is meant to return across the void and help out. They're not doing it. They aren't. That's why Earth is in the condition it's in. But that's changing, because the past prophesied destructive direction for this planet has been permanently and forever altered out there by beings that can do it. It was silent mentors that changed the polar flips of this planet as effortless as you breathe, because their consciousness changed and they were motivated to do it, or they would not have done it. In which case, we've already had another polar flip and everybody'd be dead. Forget about nuclear war. A polar flip is 24 hours. It's over the whole flip of the whole planet, not the magnetic field, That too, but the whole physical world goes the other way. And when that happens, the tidal waves, forget about it. 5,000 feet high at 300 and 500 miles an hour, earthquakes that break up whole continents, no one's going to survive that. The planet's fine. It'll reorganize itself, but the things on it, bye-bye. That's happened many times on this world. It's not like other planets. We've never had a fair shake here because this planet is wiped out every 100,000 years, and has to be recolonized from all kinds of races from the stars under different scenarios and different conditions. You go through another 100,000 years, and then it's all wiped out again. Golden age to iron age and back again. La, 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 la. What a joke. That's not spiritual. That's nothing to do with becoming, who you're meant to be and co-creating with the source. That's just a trap for the being. So it wasn't people on Earth that stopped the polar flips of this planet. They don't even know what beings did it. I'm talking about classified people, the highest classified government, whatever. They haven't got a clue what did that. But some of them know it. They're not telling the people that yet, but they know. The more specialized classified space program on Earth and off-world have been confronted by beings from other worlds and basically laid out, you don't have a future in space the way you are. And these are kind beings. They're not going to tolerate us going out there with all this militarization of space crap. Space is already occupied by far more advanced races, and they're never going to tolerate us going out there like that. So our solar system is quarantined, not by people on Earth. There are ships from other worlds stationed permanently in our solar system now to monitor, making sure tyrant races who were once here working in bases underground and stuff and screwing with people are no longer allowed to come back here. Little grays, reptilians, all that, they're gone. The negative effect they've left on classified people and leaders and the people is still here, but it's just subconscious programming, and it can be removed or neutralized. It's going to take a little time to correct this, but it's underway. So if you want to go on a journey, what I'll do in these little sessions that I charge no money for, I mean, I'm online with you, Perry, you volunteer your work, goes on your YouTube channel, not mine. I could put them on my own channel if I wanted to, but where would be the fun in that? You and I wouldn't have this camaraderie. It wouldn't be good for people in Thailand. It wouldn't be good for what you can contribute to it being good for the way you do. It's collaborative. It's good for all life. So we do it this way. I will send out the hue. Now, here's what's happening when I send out the hue. First half of the word human. This is not rocket science, not hard to understand. It's just that it's hidden in a word and it can be spoken in any language. Human. I don't know how you say human in Thai. Is there a word for human in Thai?
Yes, that is, but more complicated for you to pronounce it.
So you pronounce it for Thai people right now. Human.
Human, มนุษยชาติ
Okay, see? They know what that means in Thai. But most people will think that's this, the body. It is not. A human, woman, child is spherical. And it has the ability through the sound, the first sound of creation, to telepathically link to that one energy supporting everything. It becomes a conscious connection, a collaboration, a co-creative connection. We're relied upon to grow up and create with our imagination wondrous new ways of doing things for the benefit of all life. It's going to take all of us working together on all the dimensional levels to retire the experiment of evil in the lower planes of time and space. That is underway, and it cannot be reversed by any power, any tyrant race, or any technology. You can blow up a human body, but you can't harm an Atma that runs that body, the real being at all. It isn't nuclear in nature. Put a hydrogen bomb under me as an Atma, and it'd go off, and I'd just be floating in space just fine. No radiation, no heat. Wouldn't affect me at all. So that's who we really are. And when people become aware of this fact again in this lifetime, if they're lucky, they begin to recover a certain kind of serenity of being and confidence as a being to walk among so many unconscious fellow beings in such a negatively compacted atmosphere as what surrounds Earth and be unscathed by it. In fact, they become a channel to help others get out of it. That's how we co-creatively work as beings. There is an energy that moves through that kind of co-creative function that is superior to and master over all other lower energies. And it has jurisdiction, period. Because it isn't there to harm people, take away people's power, put people up against the wall and shoot them and all of that and all the negative emotions. No. It's there to get people out of wanting to be like that, thinking like that. Tyrants suppress other people because they're afraid it'll be done to them if they don't do it first. That's the misguided and misdirected consciousness of a tyrant. All tyrants. That means they have a stronger fear-based subconscious than the rest of the people. They're more trapped than anyone else. So, in liberating a planet like Earth, it's going to require liberating everything on it. It can't be us against them, good guys against bad boys. That won't work because that creates repercussions in space-time. If the good guys go out and blow up the worlds, the bad guys, later on in history, the bad guys will be good guys and blow up those guys. And it just never ends. Because in the lower dimensions of time and space where matter is, molecular time rates, the law is what you put out comes back. It's reciprocal. That's a trap because we need to be putting out only that which creates a constructive, uplifting cause for all life, not good and bad. That's a trap. So we want to get into the consciousness, our natural state, which is to inherently know how to use the imagination properly, because the imagination, what people imagine things with, daydreaming, is never created in the brain of a human body. A brain does not have the ability whatsoever. It doesn't have a motion picture camera in the brain cells with a motion picture screen upon which you see things. When you look with your physical eyes, you see stuff. The brain can detect that for that physical life in that parallel dimension of that matter it's made of on that plane. But physical eyes can't even see the energy that's in the void of space because it's at a higher frequency. You have to get out of the body and look at it, and then it's a pure white golden light everywhere, packing what they call dark matter. Scientists on Earth, quantum physicists and others know that it's not dark matter at all. It's powerful. It's some kind of an energy that is toroidal. It's 0 point. It's the energy of the universe, and it doesn't work like the laws of physical matter do. It is behind it. If people want to travel distances to other galaxies and craft, they have to learn how to channel an energy that is not material or nuclear through their devices, because they aren't limited to the limitations of the speed of light or time and space. Get it? They should be getting this. When I do that, I'm above my body, I'm out of it, and I'm working with many other wonderful beings, and they're all hewing with me, and it's creating a kind of a doorway that this one field of energy people call divine spirit, which is really a living conscious energy, moves through by conscious co-creative cooperation with it, and then it comes into the earth world through pyramids that are stationed, 2 on the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans and 1 hidden in a hollowed out mountain in the Himalayas. There are 3. And there's a structure inside, and it connects to that, and it connects to a big pyramid that's floating between 2 stationary asteroids in the asteroid belt that circles in a planet between the planets Mars and Jupiter, like a planet once did in our solar system. And then that connects to pyramids that have started appearing between stars in our Milky Way galaxy. This is something that's underway to change the way things work. Not not destroy them. And when I do this in a series of tones, what it's doing is connecting the being I am, the white core, it's pure, to the white core of all of you. The being, not the brain, not the body. And it's connecting then, each being knows how to put their body to sleep at night anyway. And actually, what they're doing is causing the pineal gland to secrete serotonin, make melatonin, make the body go to sleep in a trance state on automatic. Heart works, lungs work, you air breathes, but nobody is home. The energy connection between the white core of the spherical being we are to the pineal gland is unbreakable. It is not made of matter. A nuclear bomb could not sever it. Negative beings can't approach it. It isn't psychic. It's beyond that. And when you do that, you could be at any distance from that body on any dimension, in any parallel, in any world, in any reality, on multiple higher levels, and come back while the body sleeps. If people become aware of this, they'll begin to bring back awareness of what they're doing when they're out of their bodies at night. So when they wake up in the morning, they could call it dreaming, but the more advanced consciousness of that is to fully bring back consciously what you were doing and where you were, and downloading into that brain when you wake it up that doesn't have any of this in it. This is what we're doing. When I do these little guided journeys, I'm simply helping people do what they do every night anyway, except when the body goes to sleep, they remain aware of my voice. They remain conscious, and they go out and imagine what I'm sharing with them. And eventually they discover, lo and behold, they're actually out there doing it. That it becomes their experience, not mine. And it's that kind of experience that returns two qualities that are the highest faculties of each being from the source behind all life, each individual Atma soul, and that is direct knowing perception and or direct knowing certainty. That's quite a bit beyond faith and belief. That's into the heart of things. I will begin those tones now to help all of you put your bodies to sleep. Mine is already in the sleep state. I've learned how to work with it so my mouth and vocal cords will work while I'm above this body or even out above the planet. And I'll be sending out these Hue sounds in higher tones because it'll be addressing the body you're running at each of a number of higher planes that you're maybe not aware of yet. When you're running the physical body on Earth, you're also running a lifetime on a body on the astral plane where all emotion comes from. And all emotion moves matter there instantly. Causal is cause and effect. Mental, all thought moves matter there. And the etheric, it's more of a deeper atma or soul quality that moves matter around there. But it's still mixed with a little bit of negative. So I'm going to be connecting up those planes and simply providing a way for people to link into what they go into when they leave the body at night. Probably not aware when they're out of it to do this, but this is helping them connect in a way they wouldn't have thought of or ever attempted otherwise. This information, this awareness, the demonstrations, the techniques I work with people about this are not native to planet Earth. They were brought here from way out in the galaxy and even beyond the Milky Way, way up in the higher dimensions, clear across the void known to Buddhist monks and in the higher realities. And it's always been there. You. You. Consider it like a meditation, except active. Contemplation just simply means imaginatively active. The body goes into a stillness, the mind shuts off. The thoughts and the rattling around the cage of your brain cease and quiet down. The body goes to sleep, but you remain aware. We work with people, what people call daydreaming on these journeys, what I prefer to call the creative imagination, because when a person looks out from the center of their being, which is spherical, running a body, they can see into the grand multidimensional creation, plug into that one supporting energy, and know things with confident certainty. It takes some time to get the brain and body you grew up with on earth all negative and misdirected and not knowing anything to know stuff. For the being to get it to know stuff, to humbly accept knowing stuff from your own higher self. All of you are experts at putting your body to sleep at night. Where did you get that mastery from? Do you know what you're doing when you do that? The being is sending an energy pulse down into the pineal gland, the center of the brain, telling it to make serotonin, makes melatonin. It puts the body and runs it on automatic while you're out on a journey for 8 hours or so. When you're in a classroom looking at a boring teacher, and your eyes see the teacher and you look out and see your daydreaming, you see the parking lot through the windows, and you imagine being on the beach or with your girlfriend or up in the mountains or by a waterfall, even on another planet or another dimension or on a spaceship. The being, not the body, the one hovering above it, running it, is actually seeing it somewhere. And beings on earth are not taught this growing up. It's not in their development as a child. They're not taught to leave their bodies confidently at will when they're children, like they should be. They're taught what? Fear. Demons will get you if you leave your body. I try to point out to people, demons already got them. That's why they're on earth afraid to do anything, not remembering anything. You don't need to be caught. They're already caught. If you're living on earth and you don't remember who you are, there's only one way to go, and that's up. The hue sets up a series of sound or frequencies and energy to each person. It comes with a certain built-in protection. So when people begin to work with it, it provides a certain sanctity and privacy. It takes a little time, but it provides the means for a person to recover who they are, even in a negative planet like Earth, while they're running that body around. People will think it's too difficult to get out of your body. That's a complex, hard to do thing, and that's just misguided, tyrant-inspired, misdirected programming. People have been compelled to believe that growing up on this planet. None of it is true. It's effortless to imagine being somewhere else. Children do it all the time. They daydream. They're really out of their body seeing what they're seeing. People say, well, why do I bring back such a scattered nightmare? Well, let's put it this way. If you go to sleep at night fearing the present or the future, and you take your troubles into the dream state when you leave your body, you're going to be telling this omnipresent energy to create the circumstances you bring out there. And it simply complies. If you intentionally set yourself up through certain techniques and work it a little bit so that you are taking childlike wonder and serenity of being with you when you go to sleep at night, those are the things you will cross paths with too. If you bring back scattered dreams that don't make any sense, it's because fear in some ways is distorting, bringing back what you were doing. When people work with the hue, they're working with the source behind all life, far above those people that rule the lower dimensions of time and space, and that source is not a tyrant. If the body is asleep and you're aware of what I'm saying, you might hear it through speakers in your computer system, but I'm actually saying it to you directly, telepathically, being to being. Imagine yourself being near the ceiling as a spherical energy, like a round shape, like a sun, looking down on that body kindly. You now look at that and realize it doesn't have this enlightening experience and information from other lives and other realities, and you need to enlighten that brain and body. So you want to bring back to that form where we go and what we do on these journeys. It just makes sense. Common sense. You can see that there's a white core of your being because you're looking out from the center of it in all directions, in every direction around a sphere. You can see the room, the ceiling, the ground, the body sitting in a chair, laying on a bed, whatever it's doing. And there's a little white golden beam of energy emitted from you that goes down the top of the head, and it's gently penetrating the pineal gland, the center of the brain. This is something you know how to do unconsciously for the most part. Most people are unconscious about it. Now you're beginning to do it consciously from being above the body. Bodies can get tired and fatigued and need sleep and need rest. Atma's you, the soul, does not. It does not get fatigued. It does not get tired. It isn't made of matter, energy, space, and time. It is part of the energy that is master over such things from the source itself. Enlightenment, self and God realization have to do with basically two things. Self realization is being consciously aware of what we are, what it's shaped like, what we can do with it, that is spherical, that is not a human physical body. That's one. God realization is going into the upper worlds above the void and mixing things up there and creating there and having awareness of what you are as a co-creator with the source energy. And then once you step through that door, it's an infinite journey into deeper and deeper understanding and levels of what we call God realization. God realization is simply deeper ways of knowing and doing and creating new ways of doing things with that source for the uplifting benefit of all life. That's it. That is the purpose for why we exist. On many world systems I've been to and come from throughout this life, people in entire cultures on 450 million planetary systems in just a little less than half of the Milky Way galaxy alone, spread throughout 144 parallel dimensions before you get to the lower astral plane. understand this. Billions in numbers you can't stagger the imagination. How much life out there is not trapped like people on Earth are with subconscious misdirecting programs. What better things do they have to do at this point than to help us? They can't wave a magic wand and do it for us. If you were given instant freedom and God realization and awareness of the universe right now, what's still in your subconscious, your fears and other things, would pull that energy in wrong directions without your awareness, and you would destroy yourself or fall from that awareness within a day. So they don't just give this to people that way because they know they would be wasting their time. People need to consciously co-create with them their liberation and freedom from this subconscious amnesia they're living on Earth. They have to be part of it, co-creatively involved in it. Because then when they recover higher faculties and knowing they once had, they will keep it forever. They will have the wisdom necessary not to lose it again or be hoodwinked or scallywagged or fooled by some tyrant being somewhere. Be in the atmosphere at 10,000 feet, up in the sky, whether it's day or night, as a sphere, comfortable. You don't feel cold or hot, radiation from the sun or the toxins in the atmosphere, none of that. You are the Atma. You are spherical. You can see the spherical part of you, a duplicate of yourself, hovering above the body near the ceiling, looking down on that sleeping body, both at the same time. Be in space above the planet, further than the space shuttle ever flew, looking down on the polar ice caps and the oceans and the land masses you're familiar with, and the barren moon circling the planet that does not turn on its axis. Covered with meteor craters, no oxygen atmosphere to speak of. There is water there. One sec. I have a little pal joining me, and he asked to be let in the room. He's a cat. His name is Starlight, and there's an Atma like me running this cat body. He's telepathic, and he goes on these journeys with us. That might be surprising for people on Earth to hear it, but I really don't care. I do, but I don't, in that whether they know this or not. They will one day. Respect of all life is crucial to anybody recovering who they are. We're in space. You can see that all of us on this journey are hovering in a circle around another friend of mine, a being from the Serays race. It's the most ancient human race in creation. They did not originate in our galaxy or in many galaxies far from here. They are many billions of years old. We get our DNA for these body forms originally from them, as do many races out in the stars. At one time long ago, they were the most advanced genetic scientists, in that they developed bodies using DNA and genomes that would be situated to allow the being to run higher faculties of awareness through it on any planet where that body was, it chose to run. Ambassador Terrellian is an ambassador from the Serays to this galaxy and in a way to Earth. A billion years ago, they immortalized their physical bodies. They didn't just make them, live forever unaged. That's one type. No, they dematerialized them and stored the DNA pattern in a faculty of the spherical being they are. So when they want to manifest a body on any world to carry out a mission, they will simply instantly mock it up from the one energy that supports all life that is not nuclear, and it will molecularly fill the DNA pattern and create a body on the spot. They'll carry out their mission, dematerialize it, and then leave. They're not burdened with running a body all the time like we are. Terrellian is showing you, all of us, an 18-foot tall human body. Elegant, perfect, long, slightly curly blonde hair, pointed ears, big blue eyes, kind of like a Greek god standing there with his two thumbs up, putting out an energy from his thumbs that is a consistent support of uplifting, benevolent energy to help encourage people until they can get it for themselves in their own way. So he serves voluntarily to be a central point on these journeys around which we circle, not to worship him, not put him on a pedestal, none of that, but because he knows his way around, as do I. And we are co-creators with each other. I respect him. He respects me. He's far more advanced than I am. But he knows my potential and he knows all of yours. They were once like we are. You can see all of us as spherical beings hovering in a circle in space, out in the void of space, which is, when you look at a Hubble Space Telescope photograph of outer space, galaxies and billions of stars, it all looks black in the background because human eyes can't see into a higher enough frequency to see how brilliant that energy is. What people call dark matter is most certainly not dark at all, except to most human beings' eyes. Get above the body and look at it, and the whole void of space is full of a white golden light. 0 point, toroidal, the energy of creation itself. And that energy is not nuclear. It is not atomic. There's no atoms. You can't store things made of nuclear material and atoms in the void of space. There's nothing to record it in, so to speak. We want to play out there in that energy. We have to understand more of what that energy is and what we're capable of doing when we co-create with it. So building craft and things that can get across the galaxies easily. Such craft do not pollute. They do not have tailpipes that radiate toxins into space. That is illegal outside of planet Earth. They work with energy that's far beyond that. It's not limiting to the speed of light or the worlds of time and space. When you see yourself hovering, and you can see Perry and me, and you can even see my little kitty, Starlight. He's around here somewhere. Oh, at my feet, sleeping behind the chair. And you can see a cat hovering there near me right now with his tail glowing from the root to the tips like bright golden opal in sunlight. And behind him is a being 3 feet long, taller than him, who's a Dren. He's a silica-based creature from another world. He's not human. He's not carbon-based. Cute as the dickens, courageous to a fault. And his tail is glowing like bright crystal opal in sunlight right beside my cat. The bodies you're seeing here are pure energy. They look just like us, but they're mocked up from the spherical being hovering behind them. That's so we can recognize each other on these journeys. And Etta, his big bulbous blue eyes, a long snout that looks like he's smiling about something when his mouth is closed. He can walk on all fours, walk upright, or hover and fly through the air. On his world, as a biological entity, he developed the ability to defy gravity. The Drens did. Pale green skin, not moist, smooth, strong upper body, arms and legs, and dexterous thumbs and fingers and toes like a human. He's teaching Starlight how to fly, believe it or not. So Starlight likes to go on these journeys. When we start them, he'll tune into it wherever he is in the house. He'll come up and he'll meow and ask to come, and then they open the door and let him in, and off he goes. He goes out instantly without any effort because he hasn't been brought up thinking it was difficult. So here he is in space, and each one of you is a spherical being. You don't feel the heat and cold from space, sub-zero. You don't feel radiation from the sun. You don't need to breathe oxygen here. But when you look out, you can see that what was supposed to be a black void of space is a white golden light behind the billions of stars you see in the Milky Way galaxy, surrounding the Earth above, below, and to each side in the distance, as far as you can see. And you have a body that looks to be about 36 years old, perfectly, flawlessly healthy, standing there a few feet in front of the sphere that you really are as an Atma soul. And we can look at each other. We can see Terrellian. He's doing the same. You can see Starlight. You can see Etta. That's the Dren. And then you can see a master teacher. His name is Ramu. He's not originally from Earth. And he's holding a crystal staff made of quartz. It's radiating a golden light. It's in his right hand, and it's about 6 feet tall. And on top of it, it's crested with what was in Egyptian history the Ankh symbol, the cross with a round oval hole and an oval, vertical oval hole, symbol above it stands for eternal life. It's a device. He always carries it as a symbol of who he is. And off to the right of Ambassador Terrellian, inside the circle, is a master teacher named Opelum. He is from a world in the physical universe on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, a third parallel dimension up in the physical universe. It is a water-covered world with a few islands protruding mostly above the equator. Etta, the Drens, come from that world. They evolved in huge volcanic chutes or tunnels that were emptied out hundreds of millions of years ago. So they're empty chambers that evolved natural ecosystems with minerals that have self-effulgent light, phosphorescent plants that glow. So it's like bright daylight there. And the plants create oxygen, take in carbon dioxide. It's a self-contained ecosystem. The Drens evolved in that reality. The Oceanans, which Master Opelum is human, much more advanced than people on Earth, 4-stranded DNA. He has pale blue skin, long, shiny black hair, slightly pointed ears, big emerald green eyes, very handsome, looks to be about 40, slightly grayed at the temples. And he's showing his body, looks to be about 6 feet high, and he's showing up his fingers, and you can see little webs between them near the base. Lifts his neck, and there's 3 little slits on each side. These are gills. He's human. You could actually mate with him, and yet this race of humans can breathe underwater or on land. They are not from Earth. They are the most advanced crystal-based science technology people in our galaxy. The Ceres had a lot to do with mentoring them long ago. Opelum and Ceres Ambassador Terrellian and others helped sponsor an organization of world systems centered near to the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy that has a 5,000 member assembly. And those 5,000 members represent more than 450 million spacefaring races on multiple parallel dimensional levels within the physical universe. Zetranami. Planet's 4 times bigger than Earth. The moons around it are the size of Earth and all populated, not overpopulated, mind you. Many of these more advanced worlds have trinary sun systems. There's a reason for this. Big blue young giant star, a smaller yellow sun further out, and then a red dwarf. You remember suns in space revolve around each other, smaller ones around bigger ones, and so they move around the galactic core. When Ambassador Turellian first appeared to them, a little over 8.5 or 9 years ago now, Earth time, it changed their consciousness forever because the Say rays had had their consciousness changed recently as well. And so this has to do with what is underway in the lower dimensions of time and space and ultimately on Earth to retire evil in his experiment, a failed experiment, in eternity, permanently. If we're going to ever evolve this creation to something greater, that has to go the way of the dodo first. In the consciousness of people, in the consciousness of the Atma, in the consciousness of children and parents teaching them, and governments that are kind and benevolent. We will be a spacefaring race connected to countless billions of other races of kind beings, wondrously more evolved than we are, many of them human or humanoid. When this world has one benevolent government system run by its most wise people, when money is done away with as the control mechanism it is and no longer wanted or desired by people, and when people can get along from one country to another, and we can be trusted to come out and enjoy the technology and the wonders of fellow beings who would share that with us free of any cost if we could be trusted with it. Let me state that clearly again for anybody on earth that may be listening to this. They will share that with us free of any cost when we can be trusted with it. And they're working now to get people free of the subconscious terrors that misdirect them all now. Tyrants who were on Earth, the few that were, are gone now. There are no more abductions by little grays, any of that you heard decades ago. That ended. But it wasn't done by people on Earth. When the time is right, the people that have classified such awareness will reveal it to the public because they're being compelled to now. If we're going to have a future out among the stars, you're not going to get to another planet in a rocket ship. People in this form cannot survive a journey 2 ways each way to Mars. This is known on Earth. Artificial gravity, at the minimum, must be part of such a trip, or people would atrophy and die. This whole idea of going at such a slow speed with rocket power isn't practical. It never will be, because you can't get to any distance out there, even another planet, in any practical way that way. We need to use energy of the universe between all things that are nuclear in order to, I don't want to say cut corners, but find our way through interdimensional portals or doorways to get around the laws of physics. It's just higher science. The beings who are astutely aware of this higher science, antigravitic vehicles and all that thing, matter, machines that make things appear, like produce food, teleportation. These things are old technology out there, not new at all. And they'd be willing to share it with people on Earth if everybody wasn't such a lunatic, wanting power from different companies and competing in space and all that nonsense. People on Earth have no future out there the way we are. People in the classified community really well know this now. I think it's time for people on Earth to make a giant leap, an unexpected leap in a new direction. Because the people that are unaware and sleeping in amnesia and can't remember on Earth have great potential to be wondrous contributors and co-creators with the source. Some of them are some of the oldest beings in creation. Right now, unconscious, trapped in bodies, and can't remember much. That can all change. In space around Turelian, when you look at the Earth, you're going to see him wave his hand. You're going to see the Earth change. Now, what's happening is the omnipresent energy around us is moving up a little bit in vibration. And all that's doing is moving us up with it. And we're going into the third higher parallel dimension above the physical Earth and Moon you know about. Remember, we talked about and shared about how the physical universe has 144 parallel dimensions to it? It's not unlimited like some people think. There's a finite structure to it. And in the third higher parallel dimension of physical matter, Earth has no polar ice caps. You can see it for yourself. Oceans everywhere, and big continent from the east to the western hemisphere goes up towards the North Pole about a third of the way below it, continues down to the western side, then goes down to the South Pole, and about a third of the way above it and continues to the eastern side. There's another continent 2/3 its size on the opposite side. You can see right through the planet as an atmosphere. When you look at the moon, you're surprised to find that it is full of an oxygen atmosphere turning on its axis with gravity. There's 5 clear dome cities on the front, and lakes and little oceans and little rivers and, wind currents and rain. And as it turns on its axis, you can see it moving around the planet and coming into view on what people call the dark side are 2 dome cities in a mountainous area. And inside those dome cities are 3 4-sided, golden-sided, luminous, quartz-capped, appear to be quartz, pyramids. And they are devices. When you look at this huge continent centered over the equator on Earth, in this Earth, down at the southern point, probably just cutting across it, so that it's straight up and down across the midsection of the planet, right down above the southern pole is a upward pointing, crescent-shaped, moon-shaped, glowing emerald beach you can see from space. And Turelian points to it, and he says that green energy is a form of energy that will help you remember. It's on a planet Earth that has no negativity of any kind in the atmosphere. The people who work there do not use negative emotion or imagination. They have physical bodies there of a higher nature. The moon there is populated. It is being used as a prototype to create the Earth and the moon you're familiar with to look like this one day. And this will remain as it is. And you can see us all circled around Turelian now, Ramu and Opelum and Etta and Starlight and Perry and myself and all of you that might be on this journey, wherever you might be on this earth. I don't care if you're the Queen of England, President of the United States, classified general somewhere in some base. I don't care if you're in Russia or China or anywhere you are. But anyone's capable of understanding and seeing this when they rediscover how to do it. And you look down on that green emerald beach, and you find that as a group of people moving around Turelian, it's like a spaceship. We're moving down through the atmosphere until we suddenly find ourselves hovering above this curved, crescent-shaped, glowing green beach. And you look down and see your toes, bare feet, wiggling in this emerald green sand, and you pick some up and you can see it's made of these little tiny polished pure emerald crystals. And there's a green light glowing about a foot above it. And then you look up and you realize you have a physical form here that looks like you, perfectly healthy, about 36. And you see a spherical being with a white core hovering above you. That's you. Both of these are you. And you can see the rest of us standing next to each other down this beach. And in the back of the curve of the beach, a brown moss-covered path goes back about a mile to a statue on a white marble floor, jungle trees everywhere. And in the distance, the trail goes up into a plateau to the left side of a single snow-capped mountain. There's a big dome city there with 3 pyramids in it. And you can look at the mountain, and 2/3 of the way towards this glacier covered summit is a waterfall cascading out of a cavern opening, pouring out of it, dropping down a cliff face thousands of feet. And it's radiant with a phosphorescent mineral, makes it glow with blue green light. And it's dropping into these blue green forest trees that surround the backside of this domed city. And you look down and wiggle your toes in this sand, and the energy comes up your legs, brings an uplifting, serene feeling, moves up your head. You look up smiling, goes into the white core of your being, of the sphere you are, and it's sent out into the deeper layer, bigger concentric layer of green light that surrounds you. There's little teardrop shapes all around it. Those are higher faculties of being, and it's lighting some of them up. When you look out in the ocean now behind us, you can see Ambassador Turellian standing there in his 18-foot tall body up to his knees in ocean water, smiling with his 2 thumbs up. And there's this green light around his thumbs. When you look inland down that moss-covered path, we suddenly find ourselves hovering around Troy, looking down on what this is. And there is a statue of a woman there, about 10 feet tall, made of pure quartz, polished, standing with her 2 arms to his upper shoulders, with the fingers open, and they're glowing with a sphere of green light around each one. And you can tell these hands, this device, are charging that beach. The green energy that went into you has to do with a part of the hue, a new ray of energy consciousness within it that helps a person begin to gain the courage and safely, gradually recall who they are, despite what was done to it in other lives, and put them on earth with no memory. And you're looking down, and you can see that this statue is standing on a square pedestal on a white marble 100-foot wide circular floor. The jungle surrounds it, and off in the distance you can see a sleepy, snake-like emerald green river flowing down on the other side of what looked like an embankment of tall weeping willow trees with spoon-shaped leaves that are glowing with blue-green light. And when you look at the statue, you can see it looks like there's a woman just inside the quartz surface smiling at you. And she's got a golden band on her forehead, long silver hair that looks like silver metal, but you know it's soft. And this band has a teardrop shape pointing downward, faceted emerald green crystal that's glowing. It's attractive. It's drawing us. And when you look in the face of this woman, she smiles from inside some reality. This quartz statue is an interdimensional doorway. And we suddenly find ourselves hovering inside it, looking at this woman standing up in the air in a field of green energy the size of a football stadium. And you look behind you, you can see the outer surface of this quartz statue that looks like her. She has long silver hair, violet eyes, slightly pointed ears, elegant gown, bare feet, standing there with her hands up, just emitting this green energy. She lowers her hands, and beside her appears a male, a mate, a little taller than her, with long silver hair and violet eyes, and they nod their heads to us in respect. And the man's name is, she's named Freshen Muntus, and he's named, what is it? Can't remember it right now.
Sonintellus, Scott.
Yeah. See, that's what co-creativity is all about. Zonantalis, right? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thanks for reminding me. I meet so many beings. No disrespect to you, Zonantalis. But these couple, they're pointing to the right in this atmosphere. You're going to see a big world take shape. It's 4 times bigger than Earth, no polar ice caps, covered with little land masses all over it, and little oceans between them all. And there's dome cities, 12 you can see all over the surface. Pyramids in each one. And then you can see 3 moons circling it, the size of Earth, No polar ice caps and dome cities on them at different distances. And in the far distance, you can see these worlds and their moons circling about in the third orbital position around this solar system, but they're circling around a giant blue white young star. And in the distance further out, a yellow sun the size of our sun is circling that sun. And further out is a red dwarf, an older star, smaller. They're simply showing you what their world looks like. And this world that they are from the Xentronomus race, is positioned on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy in our physical parallel dimension of the Earth, just where Earth and the barren moon are. But it's far more advanced. The forms they're showing you here, they have stationed on that planet's surface. And they are top genetic scientists. They immortalize their physical bodies so that the telomeres on the DNA do not shrink. And these bodies they keep around are more than 3.5 million years old now. And they look to be about 36. But wise, stately. When they move like a swan. 10 feet tall, elegant, longer arms, longer fingers, longer necks, but beautiful. The energy she transmits is the type of energy that comes from above the void known to Buddhist monks in a place called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And it is created there by them, their master teachers there. And they bring it to the physical worlds to help people remember. It's part of their gift. You suddenly find yourself looking down and your feet are walking on violet sand, very fine. And you look along and there's a snake-like violet-colored river, slightly lighter color, moving through a valley between large, flat mesas like you'd find in Sedona, Arizona, and a huge dome city in the distance. You see these 3 golden pyramids again in there. And then you look up ahead in the path, and there's Turellian walking behind, much taller than these 2 10-feet tall beings from another world, elegantly dressed. And then you see all of us on this journey walking in a line along this trail beside the river. And then we stop when they approach us. They raise their right hand in greeting. We do the same. They are telepathic beings, of course, so are we. And they're talking to you, and you can hear them in your consciousness. You can see the spherical you hovering above a body that looks like you, perfectly healthy here. They see you, and they're telling you you are welcome to their world, and that the human race on Earth will one day recover their ability to do this. And these are master teachers for that purpose. Turellian, standing behind them, still has his 2 thumbs up, smiling. He's creating a certain consistent energy from his hands, kind of a protective field that keeps people. What it's doing is keeping all of the fears, subconscious things turned off. When you're on this journey, you cannot bring those things with you. They are turned off back and left with the physical body on Earth. So they provide a certain protection for us to make advances in awareness. And then you find yourself hovering in space above the Earth in the parallel higher dimension with no polar ice caps, a living live moon turning on its axis, and the sun in the distance. And the master teachers, Ramu and Opelum and Etta, the Duran, and my little cat, Starlight, being taught here. Turellian, and all of us in a circle, or in a higher, near an atmosphere out. We're out in the orbiting a planet. We're out above it in the void of space in a higher parallel dimension. When you look out in space, you begin to see a vortex tunnel form of blue-green radiant water-like light. And it's horizontal, out into the distance of space, heading across the Milky Way galaxy. And Turellian is going to move through it and draw all this with him. And we're going to stream down this wide, whirling, clockwise opening and go a short distance. And when we come out the other side, we're going to be hovering above a planet called Oceania. And it is in this third higher parallel dimension where the Earth is with no polar ice caps and the live moon that this world exists. It's in the physical universe. It's bigger than Earth, water covered, no polar ice caps. You can see it. Pink, white clouds. You can see several islands near the equator and no other land masses. 3 moons circling in the distance. A number of stars out in space all around. And then you see us moving down into the atmosphere until we find out that in this wondrous blue atmosphere with little slightly pink tinged clouds, you can tell immediately the atmosphere is absolutely pure. There's no negative thoughts or emotions and frequencies bouncing off the ionosphere of this world like they do on Earth. And you're going to see Master Opellum with the radiant black hair and emerald green eyes and his webs between his fingers, moving downward towards a huge dome city on the coast on the bigger island of 3 near the equator. And when you look inland in this jungle, these are amazing jungle trees, blue-green, luminous leaves that look like palm trees, but they're larger and more elegant. And you can see in different clearings throughout this large island, different dome cities. And inside this one we're looking at are 3 4-sided, golden-sided, quartz-capped pyramids and a little blue-green lake in the middle and a half semicircular mountain range with little waterfalls in the background put there for the aesthetic enjoyment of the people. Little ivory-colored dome dwellings throughout a countryside with little ivory white paths. In the distance where the 3 pyramids are is a small series of minaret crystalline towers and their science laboratories there. And then you can see a round tunnel or tube leading off the exterior of this curved dome and connecting to different dome cities, a dozen on this island. And then one goes from this dome city on the left side, goes across a black, polished looking beach and down into the ocean. And we're going to follow this right into the ocean, plunge into it as spherical beings. And we're going to watch a car move down it. It's double terminated like a quartz crystal, and it's glowing from red to green to blue every few seconds. And there are Oceanian people in it, and it's moving down this vacuum tube from the dome city, down a gradual incline, it's like a mountain, to the bottom of the ocean where it enters another huge lit up dome at the bottom of the ocean, and then other tubes connect to other cities along the ocean floor. And you can see the same 3 pyramids and mountain range in the background in this dome city under the bottom of their ocean. And as we come down closer to the dome, you're going to see a number of tall volcanic, like cooled off lava chutes running in different directions, and one heads up towards the surface of the island. And we're going to move right through the crusted walls of this volcanic matter that cooled hundreds of millions of years ago, longer. And you're going to come into a huge, long, well, it's bigger than a number of football stadiums. It's a big open chamber. And in it is beautiful, organic, properly planted botanical paradise of flowers and little pathways winding off in the distance. And it's like broad daylight here. And you notice when you look at the minerals in the sand and the dirt, they're glowing. And then there's a moss-covered thing on the ground and the walls that also emits light. And you're going to see Etta fly up to us with his tail glowing and stop in front of us, Turelian is here. The Zientronamus couple, 10 feet tall, Turelian's 18, and there's us with our little forms and our spheres. And Ed is coming up to us, stopping to stand about 4 feet up in the air and wave his little fingers at us. And he smiles. And he says, I'm Etta, I'm a Dren. This is my wife. And behind him flies up a woman, a Dren female, longer eyelashes, obviously feminine. And she wiggles her fingers at us too and nods her head. And then you see two Dren children, almost full grown, fly up behind them. And they're simply showing you, telling you they are silica based nuclear structure. They're silica based DNA, not carbon. And they developed down here, and with the assistance of the Oceanians that dwell on the surface in the dome cities, this higher intellect, telepathic, photographic memory. They have beautiful singing voices. They can talk to you with vocal cords or telepathically. And they can also levitate and fly through the air at several hundred and 250 miles an hour. They have little diaphragms that close in their noses and second set of eyelids so they can fly at high speed. They can fly, defying gravity as organic beings. Very unusual. And they're going to take us down this path, and we're just going to move, floating above the sandy pathway into the distance until we come to a large waterfall falling out of an opening up near the ceiling, dropping down into a lake, and then continuing down along a river until it disappears, drops down another opening and circulates. And in the distance, you can see built into the walls to each side of the end of this long chamber, there are many little Dren domed, semi-spherical clear domes on the walls, and you can see little living rooms in them and all kinds of stuff. It's pretty cool. They're lovely people. Etta is courageous to a fault, cute as a button. You can go see what he looks like at the website at paralleltime.com on Earth. Go into the illustrations under the book link and see what he looks like clearly. And then we're going to go into, move out of this volcanic chamber for now and move inside one of the dome cities at the bottom of the ocean until you're standing on a white, it's almost like moonstone, colored stone. And you can see these, what do they look like? They're not really like weeping willow trees. They're taller off the ground, but they're luminous, radiant, fan-shaped leaves on these trees. And there are these birds singing in them on each side of the pass all throughout this countryside. And they fly down out of the trees, and these birds look like blue jays with long V-shaped split tails like a sparrow, but longer, big bulbous blue eyes, and there's dozens of them hovering in two rows, male and female, up above our heads. Turellian is standing about their height down the path. Opellum is here. The Drens are here. Master Ramu is here with his staff. And you can see these birds that have these big bulbous blue eyes and these double sets of bird wings, one above the other like a dragonfly. They have, the feathers are like rainbow colored, purely blended. So you see the whole color of the rainbow, but just beautiful. Like the most colorful hummingbird, but even prettier than that. And they are singing with beautiful masculine and feminine voices like human beings, and they're singing the hue on many levels, beautiful harmony. And this one sounds like this. Hue, 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 hue. Just singing it. And then they bow. And if you pay attention, you'll see a spherical Atma hovering above each one of these birds. And they return to the trees. You look up through the dome, you can see the bottom of the ocean above it. And some very luminous fish, long, big, beautiful, odd shaped, swimming around outside in this world of Oceania. Now, this is a journey to another world system with humans on it, not quite like us, advanced crystal-based scientists. I'll get into that another time. And the Opellum and Ramu and others are master teachers in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, which is for another journey. It's clear across the void known to esoteric groups on Earth, and it's a place built between the fifth and sixth dimensions above the void, where beings like the silent mentors, the mechanics of creation, and beings like us can collaborate to create new ways of doing things to solve the biggest problem in eternity that needs solving, which is, how do we make the lower worlds of time and space, fraught with good and bad, negative and positive, into mirrors of the upper worlds? This is our job. It is what we are here to do. And then you find yourself in space above Oceania, with Turelian in the center and all of us. And you see this vortex tunnel of blue-green radiant water moving clockwise appear. And you can see all the way down it and a light at the other end. And in the distance, the ability you can see as an atmosphere, you can see at the other end of this tunnel, this interdimensional tunnel, is the Earth with polar ice caps you know about and the barren moon. And then you find yourself moving through this tunnel, and you can see through its transparent sides, you can see millions, billions of stars passing by us. And then we come out and we're hovering again above Earth in space, further out than the space shuttle. And Turelian is telling us that he wishes everyone here the best in recovering of who they are. And you can see that these master teachers, and more than 100 that appear, male and females, behind us in a circle, form a sphere around us, and these are master teachers from other worlds. Human, humanoid, and others that are not human like we understand. Bipedal, walking on 2 legs and 2 arms, but different. These beings can help all of you when you're out of your bodies every night if you wish them to. And they will help you to create your own way out of your unconscious trap if you ask them. They work with the hue outside of Earth as well. The hue, what it does, first half of the word human, did not ever get created on Earth by anyone. It wasn't created in our solar system. Originally brought from Venus, from a higher parallel dimension there to Earth. It didn't originate in our galaxy. It didn't even really originate in the lower worlds of time and space. And yet it is the one energy, sound and light, underneath and supporting all that exists and floats in it. Like us, like planets, like moons, like suns, like stars. Then you find yourself in the atmosphere at 10,000 feet above where you live. And there you have been the whole time. The Atma can be in a number of places simultaneously. For instance, as a spherical being, you're running that body on Earth that's asleep. You're running a body like it on the astral plane, next major heaven up. One in the causal above that, mental above that, etheric above that. Living lives at much longer lifespans in different kinds of scenarios than you have on Earth. And yet all those forms you're running in each plane in the worlds of time and space are extensions of you, the spherical being. And then you find yourself hovering above your body, looking down with kindness, and you let a little bit of this white golden light of the hue that is in the void of space come through you. It's pure. It's not negative. It's not positive. It is the source of living one energy behind all. We're made of the same thing. And you let it go into the pineal gland, the center of your brain, as a thin, gentle, little golden white light. You see it radiating out in a sphere through your skull and your body, and it goes out and it connects to 3 pyramids stationed on Earth now. 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, 1 in the Atlantic, 1 in the Pacific, and 1 inside a hollowed out mountain in the Himalaya. And inside it is the fountain, white alabaster, with a statue of a man, bald head, bronze skin, 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, bare-chested, strongly built, with a little white tunic dress from his waist to his ankles, with his hands down to his sides with the palms open facing outward, and there's a white golden light pouring from them into this bowl, filling the scalloped edges and dropping around it in a luminous, radiant, white golden sheet of light. Looks like water. And you can see it pulsing energy out through the four sides of this pyramid, connects to the other two. There's a pulse of energy in the white core of your being connected to that. And then you can see this energy move out through the planet, out into space, and it connects to an even larger pyramid stationed between two stationary asteroids floating in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. These did not exist here before about 8 or 9 years ago, Earth time. And then you can see the energy goes out and connects to even larger pyramids stationed between each star in the Milky Way galaxy. And this is what this new ray in the hue is all about, how it's transmitted, the device through which it works. Those pyramids, there are classified people that can detect them, but they can't do anything to them. They can't affect them. They are not made of physical matter, and yet they exist in the physical universe for the first time. And then you find yourself sending a good vibration of kindness through your brain, through your body, out to all life. And you let this energy of your own free will move through you only for the uplifting benefit of yourself and all that exists. And then when you're ready, open your eyes.
I would like to thanks for those beings to allow us to go to their home planet, Scott. It's wonderful.
A little gift of Opelum, I think, this time.
Mm.
Yeah, to get a little out in the universe, I could have gone to the ship in the ice rings of Saturn, but going to Oceania is fun. We can go to other worlds as well, and it's beneficial, but it's also good to occasionally go all the way across the void up into the U Expansionary Academy. We'll do that next time. So if you have any questions or any that you think people listen might...
No, I just like you to mention about the book and exercise on the end of the book at the end.
It's a good thing I have a neck or my head would float away. Okay, yeah, these two books are published on Earth. And if you look at the Say-Rays agenda, pronounced as if it was spelled S-A-Y-R-A-Y-S, Say-Rays, even though it's spelled like it sounds series, like baseball series. It's not, it's Say-Rays. You can see a ship here, double-ended, a bridge control room on one end, the same, a second one on the other end. It's a mile long, and there are 30-foot in diameter scout ships with semispheric antigravitic generator pods underneath. Moving inside the central section of this ship, they raise their molecular time rate, pass through the metal hull without open launch bay doors, and then land in a huge hangar bay. This ship is stationed inside the ice rings that make up the rings of Saturn in our solar system. There's Saturn. In the back of this, you'll see a ship beaming him to safety, this Mark Sandfield. And in the background, 3 assailants firing weapons at them that appear to be human, but they're not, trying to kill him. It blows out a section of this tree, and the stump thing falls to the stump and nearly hits these guys. So he's on a solo camping trip in the high Sierras, and he gets beamed to the ship, and his journey to remembering who he is on Earth begins. So this book is more about what's happening out in the universe now that has never happened before, that make it possible for the first time for this world to be changed for the better. That's out there. There are techniques in the back of this book, a whole section, working with the hue that's designed for the prologue and all 29 chapters, separate techniques that you can work with to help you recover more if you want to put in the effort. And then this book, the first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy, if you look at this, you can see what the Atma or soul really looks like. What we really are that isn't the physical body looks like this. It's beautiful. It has layers of teardrop shapes covering the spectrum of light, surrounded by a golden white light with a white core. That is a doorway to the 5th dimension above the void. That is Kalen's ship up there hovering stationary. And these beings, the blue-skinned woman, Melina, Calum, captain of a ship, and Etta. You can see Etta hovering right there, the cute little guy. And you can see Ramu on their antigravitic discs. He's raised his crystal staff, and he's introducing him to what's called the Ancient One in the book, which is really kind of what the source looks like in the ocean of sound and light. And what these beings don't know, these are all from another planet. Hovering above what's left after the poles flipped on Earth 100,000 years ago, destroying Atlantis, and a colony continent called Atlantis. That's way before the Atlantis Edgar Cayce spoke about that sunk 35,000 years ago. But anyway, he's introducing them to what they really look like hovering above these body forms. At this point, they don't know that. So that's this introduction. On the back is a guy named Sendar. He's holding one of 3 crystals he's stolen. He's trying to get Earth under his control. People don't know about. And actual actors portrayed these roles in costume in order to create this proprietary original artwork. These were not taken off the internet. This is original artwork. And they're actually scenes from what's in the book. This is actually a scene that's in the Savior's Agenda. And so is this one. So when you get them, and you get this one, the Emerald Doorway has illustrations throughout it of these characters in some scenes, like more than 30. And you can find them at my website at paralleltime.com, www.paralleltime, Parallel Time. I don't know how you sound that in Thai, but...
You say the same. But you all can go to the link under this video, Scott. People can link under the video.
Yeah,
okay?
when she gets this, when I send it to her, this recording, and she gets it up on her YouTube channel, it will have links to all the websites. Parallel Time's the main one, and then I've got 3 support websites that link back to it. One's called Total Spectrum Publishing, Total Spectrum Productions, and Total Spectrum Media. And that's for Earth in order to get this awareness out to people. So you can go to those anytime you like and click on the book link at the top, go see the books, because they'll go to a page that has both books and the CD. I'm a musician, a composer, called Stranger on a Lost Island, which of course is Earth. And they're at the site, but I don't sell anything at the sites. They're just links to the proper online retailers to get those things if you want them, like Amazon or iBooks or Barnes & Noble in this United States. And they're available that way. So the links are provided, but no shopping cart on any of this stuff. I don't know where he is. Oh, anyway.
He wants to come up?
There he is. He just came in again. Hi, Starlight. Oh, come here. You don't have to whine. Why don't you come up and show yourself to some people now?
We want to say hello.
So they can see, because he woke up. At the end of our journey, he went outside, then he's crying at me to come back in. That's Starlight. Hi, buddy.
Hello, Starlight.
What you doing, little buddy? Oh, you're a good boy. So you'll see them linked at the bottom of the video when you go to Perry's YouTube channel, and you can explore that stuff a lot more. So I want to wish everybody pleasant dreams, a great journey. I know these are long journeys, but face it, folks, if I didn't really guide these and didn't get into detail, they wouldn't be very beneficial. You're not going to get mindless instant entertainment for 5 seconds watching a video on these journeys. You won't get anything from those anyway. So
keep doing, keep on going, everyone, and then you will have your own experience.
Thank you very much, Perry, for hosting this again. Lots of love to you.
Thank you to you, and thank you. Yes, thank you everyone too.
Bye for now.
Bye.